sitting in my living room, and then there was a helicopter, and I could see it through my living room window, and it comes in. It's been spinning around the house for a couple hours, right? This is quite a while ago, out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what is up with this helicopter, man? And so finally it lands, and it lands in my backyard as I'm sitting on my couch, just looking out at the vast uh, wild blue yonder of Sage, California. And so I get up and I go walking out there, and when I get out there, they land, and I put my hands up because I'm thinking, shit, they must see my pot plants. I'm like, damn it, how did they? But then I'm thinking, there's no possible way that they would send a fucking helicopter for like 18 plants. You know, they weren't all bunched up together, and they weren't like, 12 footers or anything like that. You know, they were spread about and hidden, except for some what I called, like some teenagers I had on my deck in some solo cups, red solo cups, still growing, still, producing their flowers and shit. And but the other ones, I had them all scattered out on the around my house on this property, 79 acres of just desert hill, a lot of brush, shit like that. And so I'm thinking, man, they're not here for that. Why? There's no fucking way they're going to land a helicopter, for that. And so I go up and I go outside and I put my hands up, and then all these vehicles come sliding up on the other side on the side of my house where my porch is, where I got all those. I had like eight plants on the porch. They can't see it though from pulling up, because there's like a 4-foot wall. My porch had like a 4-foot wall, and I had the plants tied over with strings, to get the maximum. The sergeant who's walking over to the helicopter crew, they're basically pointing at me saying, hey, there's a guy right here, he lives here, he just came out of his door, and here. I'm just standing there like this, and I'm like, what's going on? And he sees my plants as he's coming over, and he goes, as he's coming over to approach the helicopter, and the passenger cop in the helicopter jumps out, and he's pointing at me, and that's his sergeant who's coming over, because all the cars came up on the property. There was like 8 of them, big old Riverside County Sheriff SUVs and all kinds of fucking shit, and they all came out. They all jumped out with like SWAT gear and shit, They all had their fucking long rifle, long guns, and all that shit going, man. They were literally, they looked like they were literally ready for war. And the reason for that was because when the helicopter was spinning, was flying up top there, they were looking down at a canyon that, from my point of view, where I was on that 79 acres, where my little yellow house was, I couldn't see that canyon. I mean, I knew it existed, but there was no fucking way I could see it, I would have had to have walked, maybe 50 yards through a lot of fucked up scrub oak and all kinds of other brush, just to get to a boulder where I could stand up. I'd have to climb up on the boulder, and then I could maybe see it, because again, the canyon butted up against the property there. And so while they're in the air, they realize the only way they can access that canyon is to land in my backyard. And the landlord's not home, and he lives in the house too on the property, but way the fuck over on the other side of the property. And he has a big gate, and the sheriffs ended up just clipping the gate, the lock, and coming in that way too, because he wasn't home. They couldn't get his permission. So, my point is that when the helicopter spotted the grow, they also spotted a guy in an oak tree right there in the grow, protecting the grow with a long gun. And so that's why they went in all hot and heavy, and so or jumped out, all horny, they handcuffed me, sit me in the dirt, and they're all getting ready to. Oh yeah, there's this horse trail that comes out from that canyon, that comes up onto the property I was living on. It was a trail that had access onto the property. So, and then they would, people who would ride horses, it was rarely ever used. People would sometimes come up on a horse and just go right in front of my house. Yeah, right in front of my house. I could see them at my kitchen window standing there, and you see people all of a sudden, 12 feet from my kitchen window, or shit, 8 feet. I always wave at them, and they're, and that's where the trail goes. It goes up onto the property and out off the property. So anyways, that trail, goes down all the way down into that canyon and shit, or near it, not near the, or yeah, it goes. So that trail, taking it into the brush, it's a lot easier to access that canyon, So I was sitting there, and they're getting ready to start to go down the trail into the brush, and the sergeant says, he says, before we go, is there anything in your house that we need to know about? Because we're going to search it anyways. And I was just like, yeah, well, fuck, if you're going to do that, okay, then shit. Kitchen counter. He's like, okay. So he goes inside the house, comes out with my a pew that was loaned to me. And, but while he's in there searching, he finds that real fast, because I told him where it was at. And, and then he goes around, he's searching for other shit. You hear him pulling open drawers and shit, and he's in my living room, and I hear him picking up my couch and looking under it and then letting the couch drop. It was tile floor, so I could hear that. And I'm like, he's really looking for other shit. And then he comes out, he sees a picture of a guy hanging on the wall of my living room. A framed picture of a guy that looks a lot like me. He's my twin brother. And it's my twin brother's picture when he graduated from the Sheriff's Academy. He works with these guys, right? But it's just his day off or something. That's why he wasn't one of them who pulled up. and so so he grabs that picture. He's like, son of a fucking bitch. Well, how does this guy know this guy? And so he comes out with the pew in one hand, and he's pointing the pew at the picture, and he goes, hey! And I turn around, and I'm like, what? And he goes, who the fuck is this to you? He goes, who the fuck is this guy to you? And I go, what are you talking about? I go, that's my twin brother. And he goes, and I hear him go, he says under his breath, fuck. And he kind of looks down, he's like, fuck. You know what I mean? I go, that's my twin brother, man, that's so-and-so. And they're like, I go, he works with you guys, I go, can't you see the resemblance? They sit my ass back down, or they keep me in the dirt, and then they go and they do their shit, and like 2 hours later they come back, and the guy in the tree is long gone before they even gotten down there. He's long gone, never found him. And then they come back, and then the lieutenant comes up to me and he says, like, all right, John, listen, dumbass, since you don't have a fucking growing license, a medical card, we're going to take all your plants and we're going to ticket you for them, but you're not going to go to jail. And as far as the pew, that all I had to do was 18 weeks of drug diversion. That was it. But the interesting part is after the investigation, what they had discovered. Now, what they discovered was, see, on this property, like I said earlier, it's 79 acres of like desert hills, basically, right, with a lot of scrub brush and oaks popping up out and about, big beauties. And yeah, and so on the property, where the only way to get water out there is to have somebody dig you a well, and then you get your big old containers and your towers and shit, right? And then on the property were like 3 of these big towers, 3 wells and their towers, and there was one next to my house, just probably 30 yards from my kitchen window. I could see it all the time out there, and then there was another big old tank like on the other side of the property, and then another big ass tank on the other side of the property that fed the owner's house, and whatnot. And so they discovered that they discovered that the Mexican nationals who planted that grow operation down there, and it was like hundreds and hundreds of plants, right? And they found out that they snuck up to that water tower next to my house because dipshit, the owner, he didn't keep it clear around the tanks. You know what I mean? They weren't towers, they were tanks, and they were like right on the ground. I call them towers because you got to climb up on one, and there's a ladder attached to them to get up top. But they're really not that tall. But they're huge. They hold a lot of fucking water. And dipshit wouldn't clear the brush. And so he would let like this gnarly fucking scrub oak and shit just grow up right up against the sides of the tank. One particular side. The other side was clear. The side that faced my window was clear, but the back of it wasn't. And so they came up and tapped in to that water tank. Smart fuckers. At night, and it was all gravity fed. They didn't need electricity. It was all gravity fed. You know, they just turned on their little valve, and it was just gravity fed all the way down. All the way down to the canyon, and it was just, you know, they left it at kind of the cops said that they left it at kind of a decent slow drip, you know, so that the owner wouldn't, hoping that the owner wouldn't take notice that water was, and he did take notice, man, because I remember just before this happened, he came over to screaming at me. He's like, "John, God damn it, are you leaving a fucking garden hose on or something?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not leaving a garden hose on." You know, and I'm like, "No, man, I'm not leaving a garden hose on. What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, my fucking electricity bill's shooting up, man." And because, you know, out there, it's not a water bill they get, people who live out there. It's an electricity bill they get. It's the electricity that costs that they use to run the pump. That's used to run the pump, to pump the water out. So there's no water bill. It's just electricity bill. And he's like, "Goddamn, electricity bill keeps going up, and I don't know what's going on." I'm like, "I don't know, man." And he went around and checked all the towers and all the tanks. You know, I was watching him. I was sitting outside my house watching him, and he went over to his, and I saw him climbing his little, whatever, he climbs his ass up there, and he's opening it up, he's looking down in there, he's got a fucking long ass dipstick, he's like real long metal thing, jam that down there. Then he's reading on the side of the tank. You can also see you can see the level. It's a little transparent there, so you can see through with markings. And so he's like doing that with the thing, and he's just, I can hear him just cursing a storm. And then boom, in his little golf cart, he cruises over to the other tank and does the same thing, just yelling and screaming. And he's way the fuck off in the distance. I can hear all the words he's yelling. And I thought it was hilarious. Anyways, so yeah, it turned out that that's what they did. They came up and they plugged into the tank next to my house, and they fed their plants that way. It's not like a, you know, crazy ass story or anything. It's amazing though. What got me the most was, see, on that property we had a lot of dogs. Seriously had a lot. One of my dogs, Nessa, she had a litter out there, and big German Shepherd labs is what they were. All the dogs out there, and they had the 79 acres to themselves, you know, but they only went so far into the brush and shit. You know, they had their boundaries too. But I don't know how the fuck anybody could have made it up the side of that hill, coming out from that canyon, through all that fucking brush. You know, they'll make tunnels, you know, that's how they escape so quickly. They jump out of the oak tree and boom, they go under the brush. They make little tunnels here and there and clear shit out of the way so they can stay low and nobody can see where they're going from above, you know, because they're under the brush or they're in it. And so, but still, man, the dogs, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was 8 dogs, 8 dogs. And none of them were tied up. Because that's how the landlord wanted it. It kept the coyotes away from coming up and pestering, whatever, you know.